Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. The very first thing on the work session is a license agreement for temporary installation of public art. Rodney?
Good afternoon.
Hello.
We have a request from an artist named Scott Lebedo, and council member McIntyre has some involvement in this as well, in that this gentleman wants to do a temporary art display in the public right-of-way of Maryland Avenue, just south of Wilson Boulevard, near the Methodist Church. Typically, the way we would handle something like this is a temporary use of a public right-of-way is with a license agreement. So we put together a license agreement that he's basically approved, and I am asking you tonight if you're okay with proceeding with this. Again, it's a temporary art display that would happen in March. If you're okay with proceeding with it, then we'll have you vote on it at the regular session, but in the meantime, I'll tell him he can move forward with his fundraising and whatever he has to do to get ready to do this.
I don't have any issue with it, but I will say, growing up in that neighborhood, this church has been here forever, that parking lot's been there forever, and I realize that we don't have any obligation whatsoever, probably, to make them aware.
I did.
Okay, did I miss that part?
No.
Okay.
I contacted him last week and just said, if you have any comments, let me know by today, and I haven't heard anything.
But they saw what it's supposed to be?
Yes.
Okay.
I sent him this whole packet.
Okay.
And the artist selected the location, so, and Hagerstown is the only location in Maryland that he's choosing. So it'd be great for the community, for the veterans in the community, and to raise awareness for the suicides that do take place. And I have to give a shout out to one of our citizens, Darren Hawkins, who is actually in the audience, and because it would not have come to my desk and my email until Darren had mentioned it. So thank you very much. It's an important movement.
The 22 represents?
The 22 represents the 22 veterans that die by suicide every day. And the 13, so it's a 2213 tour. Scott Lebedo is actually a nationally acclaimed artist, does a lot of buildings where he paints patriotic symbols on abandoned buildings all across the nation. Scott has actually already received national attention from Fox News and is going on other tours and having a lot more media attention. So this is a big deal for Hagerstown, actually. So yeah, and the 13 represents the 13 colonies. So yeah. Amen.
Sounds good.
Okay. We'll have it on the voting session for the 20th.
That's right.
Thank you, Rodney.
Thanks, Rod.
Main Street Hagerstown program update. Schedule.
Before I get into my update on the Main Street program, I first wanted to acknowledge that we have two of our leadership volunteers here in the audience. We have Sean Griffith and Sarah Elwood, who are sitting right back there. Not able to make it today are Paul Fry, Monica Wortman, and Aaron Petternance, who are also on our leadership team. We last gave an update to this body on June 5th about what Main Street had been accomplishing, and since then we've accomplished quite a bit more. But before I get into what those accomplishments were, I just wanted to give people listening at home or watching in the audience who aren't as familiar with the Main Street program a little background on what that is. So, Main Street is a nationally recognized movement of the National Main Street Center. Main Street America has been helping to revitalize older and historic commercial districts for more than 35 years. Main streets are made up of small towns, mid-sized communities, and urban commercial districts. Main Street empowers communities to set their own destinies. While revitalization is challenging work, the Main Street program offers a roadmap for locally owned, locally driven prosperity. Across the country, thousands of communities have used the Main Street approach to transform their economies and improve overall quality of life. Main Street Maryland is a program of the Maryland Department of Housing and Community Development and is the state coordinating program for all Main Street communities in the state of Maryland. The city of Hagerstown went through a very lengthy application process and was officially designated a Main Street community in October of 2014. Every community and commercial district is different with its own distinctive assets and sense of place. The Main Street approach offers a practical, adaptable framework for downtown transformation that is easily tailored to local conditions. The Main Street approach helps communities get started with revitalization and grows with them over time. The work groups are created around the different approaches. So we have organization, which helps to manage the program, promotions, which helps with the building of the image. We have design, which helps to enhance the environment, and the business relations, which helps to find a new niche for the businesses and a new purpose. And then the state of Maryland adds a fifth component, clean, safe, and green, which works for sustainability and smart growth initiatives. Currently, there are over 120 volunteers on Main Street Hagerstown's volunteer roster. Approximately 20 volunteers actively participate each month in the work group meetings. In 2018, volunteers contributed 669 hours to improving the downtown. Main Street Hagerstown goals are to increase awareness and community engagement with the downtown, encourage beautification of downtown, and increase the retention and attraction of downtown businesses. So since our last update, here's just a few of our accomplishments. The volunteers had added new and enhanced events for the downtown. We had the Chalk Art Festival, which was a first-time event for downtown. We had 6 artists out on the cultural trail for a full day in June, chalking images that were later judged, both by local artists, and then we did an online Facebook poll as well. We also had several kids' activities, including making your own chalk, taking chalk selfies, chalk hopscotch, just to name a few of those activities. And this event will be returning in June as part of the Imagine Hagerstown June festivities. We did the Chris Kindle Market for a second year in a row. Despite despite an hour and a half of just dry weather that day, we had several repeat vendors from last year report doubling their sales. We doubled our vendors, and we had over 700 visitors this year to downtown. And this event will also be returning this December to University Plaza. Additionally, Main Street volunteers helped to enhance the Taste of the Arts event by coordinating with property owners and artists so vacant spaces could be utilized by the artists. And we added a Santa's workshop to the city center tree lighting. Let's see, Main Street volunteers also encouraged patrons to visit downtown with a hashtag #MyDowntownHagerstown Pass that was made available at major downtown events and offered savings at various downtown locations. Volunteers also created and distributed marketing materials for the Open for Business campaign to remind residents and visitors during the urban improvement project, downtown is open. The volunteers also conducted business focus groups with downtown business owners and continue to offer their monthly downtown forums for the downtown businesses. And they also continue with their litter pickups and plantings along East Franklin Street. The volunteers, along with DCED staff, work together to draft work plans that will continue to enhance the downtown. Some of the future work plan items include continuing to grow the volunteer base, increasing public relations through website updates, newsletters, and press releases. We're looking at establishing a reoccurring weekly or monthly event. Right now, we're looking at possibly adding pop-up trivia as a weekly event to the downtown. We're building upon our social media presence on Facebook and Instagram. We're looking to add additional window scrims or posters to the vacant storefront windows. We are looking to create an adopted block program, which we'll talk about as the next agenda item. Assisting in developing a downtown redevelopment familiarization tour, and continuing with the focus groups and business forums. The Main Street program's been very beneficial to the betterment of downtown, and we encourage anyone who is interested in making a positive change to the downtown. They can sign up online at the website, mainstreethagerstown.org. They can sign up to attend a monthly meeting, to be a co-chair, or to just help staff an event. You can also follow us on Facebook or Instagram, and you can like, love, or share the good things that are happening downtown. Thank you.
Any questions for Amanda?
How's the volunteer situation? Are people responding to that now, or is it like fits and starts kind of thing?
I say we get fits and starts. We get a lot of big bursts at our volunteer recruitment that we do in May, and then at the end of the summer, we had another big burst of interest. But monthly meetings can kind of be boring, to say the least. And some, it just doesn't spark people's interests. It takes, some people want to sit and help and plan, and others just want to come and do and help at an event, so.
Is there a way that we can help?
Help share like Main Street things on Facebook is awesome, and talk about it in the community, direct them to me or to the website would be great.
I know the local Ravens Roost, I think they reached out to you because
Yep.
they want to help do a project with the storefronts.
Yes.
Sorry, I'm not talking in my microphone. But I think that would be a good partnership, because
Yep.
they do a lot in the community, and they were downtown the other day and said they would love to take some of those storefronts and do like what Melanie Anderson did. The local Ravens Roost, it's a Baltimore Ravens fan club.
Yeah, we have a meeting to schedule. She's looking at some dates.
Okay, good.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda. Main Street Hagerstown Adopt a Block Pilot Program.
All right, this is Sean. He's our, Sean Griffith is our Clean, Safe, and Green Chair. And we wanted to talk to you today about looking to pilot and adopt a block program in the 4 core blocks surrounding Public Square. Several communities throughout the country have launched similar programs to engage local citizens and businesses in helping to keep the downtown area clean and beautiful. Highlights of the proposed program include individuals, residents, businesses, or employees or organizations can sign up to be a block captain to lead in the beautification of the block. A block captain would commit for 1 year to keeping the block free of litter, debris, and weeds on an ongoing basis by gathering people needed to help maintain the block. Main Street would provide a startup kit to include trash bags, gloves, litter grabbers, and would replenish gloves and trash bags throughout the year. Main Street would also create door hangers or flyers for the block captains to walk around and hang on the doorknobs and talk to the residents and businesses on that block about what they're doing. And then we would put up a sign identifying the block had been adopted by that individual or business. Expenses for the program will be paid for from the DCED operation budget from the Main Street program line item. And if you all are in support of the proposed program, then staff and volunteers will work to implement.
I think this is awesome.
I think it's fabulous.
I nominate Marvin Moore.
Yes. That's a great choice.
I just have one question now. When you say blocks, that to me may be a little bit bite off more than one can chew. I mean, I think about my business at 82 West Washington, and I can see somebody committing to keeping that street clean. But when I think of the entire city block, where Franklin Street, while that's still the same block, seems very remote to me, that you may want to consider maybe instead of block streets as a possibility. Just a thought process.
Okay.
And if you have a kickoff, if you have some kind of kickoff, please make sure that you invite us so we can participate,
Absolutely.
It would be interesting to see if we could get also Neighborhoods First involved to do something similar, because there's a lot of people that reach out all the time and say they want to do cleanup efforts. I know you guys are two separate entities, but if you take the lead on it and they could follow, maybe do something similar, that might be a good partnership to spread throughout the city.
So, yeah, we want to pilot it and get any kinks out, and then,
Yeah.
yeah, I think that'd be a great idea.
Yeah, I think it's a wonderful idea all the way around, so anything that you can do. And I think Lou definitely has a point, because when you just think of the distance around Washington and Franklin and Potomac and the first block of Jonathan, that's a huge area. But if you could get multiple people on multiple streets to do that, I believe it could have some great success. So definitely know that we need it. It doesn't matter how good a job Public Works does on an annual or continual basis. It's, it always needs spruced up and it always needs picked up, so. Great. Yeah, like they said, let us know when. We'll be there.
Awesome,
Thanks.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Discussion of benches in the public square.
Good afternoon. We have some visuals around here. Pass those around on that side. So I wanted to give you a little background on the benches in Public Square for the context of your conversation. And the benches were installed in September of 2017. The recommendation to install benches came from our Main Street Hagerstown Clean, Safe, and Green work group. And we presented their recommendations in April of 2017 with the installation happening in the fall of that same year. And the goal of the project was to provide an amenity for downtown patrons and visitors. We paid for the benches from the CIP Downtown Beautification Fund at an approximate cost of just over $7,000. There's 4 benches, and 2 are in the northeast quadrant, and 2 are in the southwest quadrant. And we have both a map and we have some photos, so we'd like to walk you through the visuals. And then Chief Kiefer will give some comments as well. We can go back and forth through these visuals as we talk. So you can see on this diagram, in the lower right section is the northeast quadrant, and the 2 benches sit between the landscaping and face each other to the edge of the open space in front of the businesses. On the other side, on the southwest quadrant, the 2 benches align to the landscaping and face toward the SDAT office. So now looking at the northeast quadrant, these are the 2 benches between the landscaping. Couple of visuals there. And then on the southwest quadrant, you can see them facing in toward the SDAT office. And 2 other perspectives. So I'll turn it over to Chief Kiefer to give some more comments.
So Jill and I met last week in regards to this, along with Sergeant Canode, who works downtown. And so after the meeting we had, Sergeant Canode and I went down just to take a look to get a better perspective on from ourselves. The benches on the northeast quadrant are about 30 to 35 feet away from the businesses. They're actually closer to the street than they are to the businesses. They're more in line with the Middletown Bank and High Rock building than they are with the restaurant that's there. The ones on the southwest corner face the building. I can say we went in and spoke to the staff at the business there, and the one bench is the biggest concern for them, and that is that the bench that's to the right in the picture here literally lines up with their front door of their business, the glass structured door. And when someone sits on that bench and they look into the business, it's just unnerving for them. And that's what their biggest comment was, is that someone's just looking inside the building at them working, and that's it. So Sergeant Canode, looking at that, thought that the better solution to that quadrant would be to realign those benches more in line with how the northeast quadrant is. Put them between the landscaping, facing each other, create a conversation space for those benches as the other benches are lined. That would alleviate the issue that the assessment office has for someone just staring into their business, and it puts it more in line with what the northeast quadrant looks like. We're talking 4 benches total in the whole area, and in talking to Sergeant Canode, people are using the benches. Granted, they are people that may not look like people that some people want to use the benches, but there's not been any problems with people using the benches. From time to time, someone will try to lay on a bench or something. We then advise them they can't do that, they stop. But it's been rare that they're doing that, so it's people just legitimately using the bench as a set. They may sit there for a long time. I spoke to, again, the staff at the assessment office. Several of those ladies said they would love to go out and use the benches in the nice weather and go out and just have their lunch and sit there. Sometimes the benches are occupied though, and they can't. So In their minds, if there was additional spaces, they might be able to do that. But we're not here to encourage more benches, but that was the comment from the ladies over at the assessment office.
I would add the Main Street Hagerstown volunteers like the idea of maintaining this amenity in public square and ask that we relay their thoughts as well.
You know, I totally agree with keeping the benches. I have no problems with the recommendations, though.
I mean, I think that the benches are, I think that I want to see them stay. I don't want to, and I agree with the additions too, so.
I'd like to see them stay, but have we solved the problems that we had with the restaurant, with their complaints that people were sleeping on the benches and driving business away?
Well, again, if we get a call that someone's sleeping on the bench, we're addressing that. If we see that, we're addressing that. If we're not in the area, we don't see it, and if we don't get a phone call calling about that, there's not a whole lot we can do unless we're notified that someone's actually sleeping on the bench. We typically, in the downtown area, anywhere in the downtown area, we're moving people along if they're sleeping in the public arena, because it's just not safe for the person that's doing that, and it's not good for business. So we've not had any pushback from those people that are using the benches that may fall asleep on the bench. If we ask them to stop, they stop.
And there's a substantial police presence right on the square just because of Barbara Ingram. We have the auxiliary and the officers down there.
It's also the most traveled focal point of the city for all law enforcement. Law and fire, we drive through the square all the time. Whether we're working in the square or not, we're driving through that area. It's a main thoroughfare, so it gets a lot of police presence. It may not be the walking presence that we would like to have with the manpower that I have right now, but we still supply the manpower we can to the area. But ultimately, we don't see
There's a
any
large
problem.
presence, though. That there is.
For future benches, because we're talking about putting benches in the plaza and other places, would we be better off choosing benches designed so that they have arms in between that would preclude you from laying down on them? I mean,
These benches do.
are.
These two.
well, they have an arm in the middle.
Right.
That's,
Like have like an extra set of arms or something.
They're like an octopus chair, bunch of arms.
So is the concern that they're sleeping sitting up or laying down? I mean, if I went down there in a suit and tie and dozed off, there's still that concern?
No, there's
there's
people
not.
laying on the bench prone.
And we have, from time to time, someone will try to still lay across the bench as best they can. And when that happens, we ask them to stop that and to sit up and use the bench properly. We don't get that many calls for it, though.
No, I would probably figure that most of your calls are of a different nature, so. Not laying across the bench. Well, as long as police presence and either a sworn officer or one of our auxiliary police or other individuals can be in that area to help maintain some type of control of that area, then that's fine. But, you know, the complaints that I were getting from the businesses, and it wasn't just the assessment office, and it wasn't just the restaurant, it was other businesses in that quadrant who were witnessing other things that were happening on the bench, so.
Again, if they call us, we'll address that. I can tell you that the camera that's in the square, that our camera that's in the square has been turned to face the northeast quadrant benches at the time. It's been set as a primary focal point, so even if we move it, after a certain time, it'll redirect itself back to that spot. So we're gonna monitor the area just a little longer to make sure that if there's any additional activity going on there that we're not aware of. So, but we do have the camera fixed to that location since last week.
And we want to continue to promote the See Something app so that if businesses see something, to share that with us.
Does anyone
Are
ever
we
complain-
promoting that on our social media page or anything?
Yes, we did a video. Wes and I did a pretty lengthy video explaining the app. We also did a 30-second spot that's been edited down that they just got to me that we're going to post up and run at the Legersburg Theater here for a month. just kind of getting that approved up. So, yeah, we've been posting it out there.
Okay.
We have,
What about the area, the bike rack, near the
Parking
university
deck.
parking deck? Ever get complaints of people sleeping there?
I'm not aware. I could check with the downtown staff, but I'm not aware of anybody. We've had a few times on the southwest quadrant, the lower left quadrant, where we've seen people try to put blankets down and things, but that was back in the late summer, early fall. Haven't had anything since the shelters have opened up. It's really minimized it.
I have to say this, or I'm going to be mad at myself later. Since the topic, I know this is not why you guys are here, but since the topic of benches and should we put armrest in them, and with the plaza coming up and having this discussion again, you know, looking at architecture as a way to deter people from being there, in my opinion, is a very short-sighted approach. We should.
Exact opposite.
Yeah, I mean, we should be looking at why they're there and how we can help them. And I know that we all do that, and there's a ton of organizations in this community that do. It goes back to the need for a resource list and the need for everyone working together, because I understand as a police officer, you have to do that, and that's your job. But I think our job as a city and as human beings and community members is not to make it more difficult for someone to find a place to lay their head, but find a solution on how we can help them, we and everyone.
Just so we're clearly understood, because sometimes we get carried away with talking about the, quote, problems with the benches. There are a whole lot of people like me who see a bench and say, someplace to sit down. We're not putting benches up there so we can house the homeless on our benches.
Right.
We're putting benches up there to try to make our downtown and ultimately the plaza a more pleasant place for all of our citizens. And I
You
know
can
that's
see
what you're
that.
saying, Emily.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, the majority. And, I go through University Plaza almost on a daily basis. And, I think if we don't have any substantial problems there, I would be really surprised about substantial problems in the square. And I think that's dealt with very appropriately by the police. I think our downtown squad is excellent, Chief. They do a very good job with everybody. They learned how to deal with downtown, and it's an excellent thing to see.
Thank you.
Why I got you here on an unrelated subject. Some of the complaints we've had in C, unfortunately, the panhandling on, and one of them may or may not be in our jurisdiction, but one of them routinely is on Eastern Boulevard, and the other one at Long Meadow Shopping Center and the median on Potomac Street. And I know there's limitations in what we do about panhandling, but I'm pretty sure we have a statute which should prevent people from standing in the middle of the street on the traffic side.
Cannot approach cars, not allowed to
Right.
approach cars.
Now, are they allowed, though, just to stand there if they're not approaching the vehicle?
It's a little tricky. I know that I don't know how they do it without approaching
Right.
the cars. That's the issue. So
Well, they certainly can't get any money without approaching
Right.
cars.
That makes it illegal in some places.
I haven't seen them be aggressive, but if you say here's money, then they gotta approach the car, and
And that's what our ordinance is about, is aggressive
Right, 'cause
panhandling.
that
It doesn't
impacts,
just cover panhandling.
that impacts traffic, it's an issue. So, thank you.
Sure. I've got those emails here just in the last couple of weeks. We're looking into them,
Thank you.
especially the ones on Northern Avenue that way.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much.
thank you.
Thank you.
City Administrator?
Nothing this evening, Mr. Mayor.
Shelley?
I just want to remind everyone of the Hub City 100-miler kickoff on Friday. I think Emily and I you are leading with me, right? Yes.
Walking.
Walking.
The mile.
We're going to walk.
Yeah.
4 o'clock is 4 to 4:45 is check-in, and 4:45 sharp is when we start. So, be a good thing. Get healthy. That's it.
Lou?
My only comment is, we have this ongoing issue. Actually, we have folks from WDVM here tonight. I've met with them, and what I've indicated to them is what I would indicate to the public. It would be nice. We have what I would say in quotes, 2 monopolies. A&T Cable certainly is the only cable franchise, and WDVM is the only local TV station. And it would be very nice to see them sit down at the table and get this thing resolved, although my understanding is none of this is being done at the local level. And whatever I could do to facilitate that, which I don't know that there's anything, especially if the negotiations aren't taking place anywhere near here, I would be happy to do. Having said that, you know, there's obviously a disagreement not only between those two entities, but between their attorneys and our attorneys. So for those who think that the city of Hagerstown is actually going to proactively get involved per some type of clause in our franchise agreement, that's just not going to happen. That's, I think, rather clear, and I'm not sure where to direct people to make phone calls, but calling the city just isn't going to accomplish much. But having said that, again, I reiterate that I think it would be certainly in the best interest of all of our citizens in this community for those two entities to get together and figure this out. And I'm not about to sit here and say Antietam Cable or Schmoes for not doing this, or WDVM is making unreasonable demands. It's two very successful businesses that need to get together, and whatever I could do to assist, I would do, but I think it's limited. Thank you.
Austin?
Nothing today.
Crystal? Emily?
So is Imagine Hagerstown June festivities the name we are going with?
I didn't hear anything like
I didn't hear anything like that either.
That's
Anything
what,
like that?
okay, that was what was in that presentation, that's why I was wondering.
No, just imagine Hagerstown is all I heard.
the
It-
last
June
we heard was
festivities.
How you left.
Okay, that was what Amanda called it, so I don't know if that's what she was just referring to, or if that was like officially decided.
Yeah, that's all I heard. Yeah,
That's what we're calling it.
what?
I still like Hagerstown's.
Wait, Jill,
I
can
thought that
you
was
clarify,
fabulous.
I mean, what we're calling it is what,
people
how they left it last week.
Right,
We've had no change.
the direction was,
We've not had three people say, yes, we want to change what was last.
Correct.
right.
That is correct.
And-
That is correct.
What was directed, I
Yes.
think, was Imagine Hagerstown, a month
Month
of
of arts
arts
and music.
and music.
Yeah,
There's been no change to that.
but no change to that we've had three people agree on. So,
Okay.
So we'll begin to.
definitely the 24 hours is over.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jill.
First you, Robert.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
I wasn't-
anything else?
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah, they were,
Some of us Raven fans don't wolf on you, Barry.
yeah, you know what, I mean, here's the thing. Here's the thing.
We're gonna talk about this.
Right.
I don't, no, I'm not gonna talk about what I do. I'll talk about what I don't do. What I don't do is admonish another person's team, especially when that person's team went 2 more weeks farther than what that team did, but.
And they're still sitting on the couch.
They are this weekend, you better believe it. Well, you know, there's always next year. Anyway, I actually don't have anything this evening, and with that, I say we're adjourned, and we will see you next week. I'm glad we got the festival.